Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Ali. I'm a certified financial planner based out of Toronto, and let's talk about finance. In today's video, we're going to talk about structuring your income when it comes to retirement. It's important to understand how to structure your income in retirement because retirement might come in a few different phases. A lot of people, when they go to retire, the first 5 to 10 years, they like to travel, they like to spend a little bit more money. They really get to take advantage of all of the things that they wanted to do in retirement within those first 5 to 10 years. Now, slowly, as they start to grow a little bit older, the amount of money that they need for retirement might dwindle down a little bit because they may not be traveling as much. Maybe they're settling down a little bit more. Maybe they're spending a little bit more time with some family, staying a little bit more local, and not doing the activities that were considered to be a little bit more expensive. And then there's also the final stages of retirement where now you're really focusing on passing that money on to the next generation or figuring out your estate planning when it comes to all of the financial things. So here are a couple tips for you to understand how to build out your investments and how we can actually structure these different phases when it comes to retirement. So the very first thing that's important to understand is what your sources of income are in retirement. Say, for example, you're 60 years old and you're ready to retire. What happens in that first 10 years? There's actually a lot of things. One is you'll qualify for the Canada Pension Plan if you decide to take it out early. If you don't decide to take it out early, then you're going to have 5 years where you have to make sure that you have extra income coming in from other sources to make up for those payments that you don't have. Same situation with old age security. Old age security, or OAS, you can't take it out early. 65 is the earliest that you can take that out. So you have to make sure that you account for that in those first 5 years of retirement. It's also important to understand the different sources of income that you're going to have when it comes to your investments. If your money's sitting in an RSP, it's going to work differently than if you have money sitting in a pension plan or a LIRA. And it's also going to be very different than if you have money sitting in a tax-free savings account. So understanding all of these things is very, very important. Here's a couple things to remember. If you have a pension plan, you're more than likely going to be restricted in terms of how much money you can take out because a pension plan is supposed to be income for life. The problem with pension plans is either you have a set amount that you're going to receive, or the amount that you can take out is restricted because there's a maximum amount of money that you can take out on an annual basis. So this is definitely something to consider when it comes to structuring out your income in retirement. And it's important to understand this before you retire, so then that way you have a full understanding of what that could potentially look like. It's also important to understand that with some of these sources, sometimes you have a guarantee for life where you're guaranteed to receive a set amount of income over your entire lifetime, and others don't have those guarantees where essentially once you run out of money, you have no more money. So it's really, really important to understand these different aspects because when you go to structure your income, it's going to make that much of a difference. So let's say, for example, you're planning out for the first 10 years of retirement. The most important thing, like I said, is to understand whether or not there's restrictions on the money that you have if it's coming from a pension plan. And with those restrictions, you need to make sure that you have other sources of income to make up for any sort of downfalls, considering that you may need additional income in those first 5 to 10 years of retirement to do those activities that you've always wanted to do. So a great place to look for those different things would be places like the tax-free savings account, or if you have additional savings in your RSP for retirement purposes, that might not be a bad place to look. Another thing to consider is in those first 5 to 10 years of retirement, are you going to be working part-time, or are you going to start a small business where you're going to have additional income coming in? Because if that's the case, then you may not actually have to pull that money from other sources. And again, it's one of those things where it's important to know whether or not you're going to be doing those things when it comes to structuring your income. That's the first 5 to 10 years of retirement. Now let's take a look at the next phase, which is the next 5 to 10 years of retirement. At this point, you'll probably be receiving your Canada Pension Plan. You'll probably be receiving your old age security if you're eligible for it. So right away, those are two different sources of income that you potentially didn't have in that first phase of retirement. So the nice thing now is, even though you may be restricted in terms of the amount of money that you could take out from your pension plan, you still have additional income coming in from the CPP and OAS payments that you're receiving. Now, another thing though to make sure is that if you do need any extra income, it might not be a bad idea to use your tax-free savings account at this point. The tax-free savings account will allow you to have additional income without having to claim it for income purposes. So this will save you quite a bit of money in tax, but also it gives you flexibility because you can withdraw money out of the tax-free savings account at any time. Now, the nice thing to understand in this second phase of retirement is you're probably not going to need as much money in this second phase as you did in the first phase. You may not be traveling as much. You may not be buying all of these things that you've always wanted to buy and experience. So it makes things a little bit easier for you because you don't need to spend as much. In the last phase of retirement, some people, what they'd like to do is they like to focus on their estate planning and figuring out where the money is going to go and how to pass it on in the most tax efficient way. Now, this is really where, again, maximizing what you can take out from the pension plan is going to do you really good, because what happens is as you grow a little bit older, the amount that you're able to take out, the percentages end up higher on an annual basis. So as you grow older, the more you can actually take out. So it's really, really good to take advantage of that, assuming that you don't have that guarantee for life. Now, another thing to understand is what is considered to be taxable. So in this case, if you're looking to pass money on, a lot of times you want to take a look at things that are not taxable, because then that way more money gets passed on. But another thing that you have to consider, especially as you get into the later stages of retirement, you have to understand that you're going to have additional expenses that you might have to pay for. There's going to be more medical costs. There may also be some accessibility needs. So whether you need a walker, a wheelchair, whether you need to make some modifications to your home. If you decide to sell your home, are you going into a senior's home? Are you going into a retirement home? If those are all things that you're going to be doing, those come with added expenses. So as you can see, when you're really structuring your income in retirement, it's going to come in phases. You may have a little bit higher expenses early on where you need additional income, and then it might come down a little bit. And then as you start to grow a little bit older, it might go up again. And it's one of those things that it's very important for you to understand that those phases are there. So when you're planning out your retirement, make sure that you take those into account, so then that way you're not surprised by how much money you need in certain phases. And then that way you can really help plan out not only your entire retirement, but it'll become a lot easier for you to plan out your estate as well, and passing the money on to whoever it is that you want to pass it to, whether it's the next generation, your spouse, your kids, maybe a charity if that's something that you really wanted to do. But it's very important to really understand those things. So there you have it, guys. Those are all things that are important to understand when it comes to structuring out your retirement income. If you like this video, please leave a like down below. Also, if you have any questions, leave those in the comments and I'd be more than happy to answer those questions. Also, if you learned something from this video, please share it with your friends and family. At the end of the day, if you learned something from this, I'm sure they will too. And also, it allows me to continue to make these videos, to grow out this channel, to make this information readily available to people like yourself. As always, guys, stay safe, take care, and we'll see you guys in the next one.